Greetings shippers, welcome back to Fic Rec Friday, the series where we go through a bunch of fanfic recommendations from me and also some from you. This week is yet another theme week and it is time travel rec week. Wibbly wobbly timey-wimey. There are a lot of different ways to approach time travel in fics, so we're gonna take a look at a couple of different ones. And we're also gonna go to some fandoms where maybe you might be a bit surprised there's time travel. We're gonna try and not be too cliche. For there are some fandoms where time travel is everywhere just based on the nature of the source material. Case in point, Doctor Who or Outlander. Because this is Fic Rec Friday, we of course first have to do our disclaimer. You can expect to see a wide array of fics on this series. Dark fic, overplayed tropes, rival ships, things that people could deem as problematic. Pretty much everything. It's all welcome here. So it must be reiterated that this is not a bashing space. Please do not seek out reader, writer, wrecker for harassment. If something doesn't sound like it's for you, well then hopefully one of the other recs will, or one of the many recs that people leave down below, and people leave some amazing recs down there. So please check them out. Different strokes for different folks, and that's absolutely fine. This series is all about sharing all that fandom has to offer. And not all fandom is for everyone. Quick lickety-split. Each week it gets a little bit faster. One last thing before we get to the fics. If you haven't already, please do follow on social media to stay up to date, know when we're streaming, and just come on over and chit-chat about fandom. It's a good time, I swear. I have slight villain glasses today because the light is on, even though it is 10 o'clock. There is no sunshine in Canada. Not today. So let's start off with a fic from a classic fandom, the progenitor of modern fandom, as it were, which of course is a fancy way of saying we're going to talk about Star Trek. Star Trek is one of those fandoms that even though I am very passionate about it, I don't talk about it too much because it's one of those fandoms where if I start, I will never stop. This fic is called The Place of Men Made Stone by C.R. Fadas. One chapter, word count 4,722. Before I tell you what this fic is about, let me give you some backstory because it's very interesting. This fic was written in 1976. This is a zine fic, one of the fics that was then transferred over to a digital archive to preserve it. There are people who still create zines, and people who used to create zines that still trade in them, and people have collections. However, many people have also taken to digitizing their classic fics so that new readers can enjoy them and just to keep them alive. It's good to have both. All of the insurance to make sure that fics stay alive and that people can still find them. If you go with the link for this fic, there is also a link to fanlore that will tell you more about the zine that was originally published in, and then republished in, published twice. It is also part of a fanzine collection wherein these fics are re-uploaded. So if you end up being interested, there's more to check out. This fic is about Spock. It is a gen fic. Spock decides to lead an away team down to a planet because he decides that he wants just a little bit of rest and relaxation. And the planet has a Vulcan-like environment, so he decides to lead the away team and perhaps just sneak in a little walk for himself. However, things do not go as planned when upon his travels he gets sucked back into the planet's past. And a dangerous past it is. Now he must try and unravel what happened and survive. This fic is one of those quick adventure fics, just a little away mission. Spock feels very much in tone, and it's exciting. You get to see some aliens, there's some time travel, sci-fi. Is Spock gonna be okay? Of course he is. But you know what? You still feel the tension. This is also a great read for those who want to see what the writing style was like back then and how much it differs from what is being written today, if it is that much. So if this sounds intriguing to you, then please do check it out. 1976. Never forget that fandom is old, and it is so much older than people believe. The Bronte sisters were writing fan fiction about the Duke of Wellington. Never forget. Next up, we're going to go to a fandom that we haven't properly discussed before. It's come up in a Fanversations, and I do get a lot of requests for ships from it, but we haven't actually gone there yet. It's Yu-Gi-Oh!
It's time!
This fic is called Worst Case Scenario by X Parrot. 5 chapters, word count 12,259. Okay, get ready. So, this is set during the period where Seto Kaiba is at his Seto Kaiba-iest and is very much trying to crush Yugi, which many people will say, well, isn't that the entire series? Not really. We're talking specifically just a little bit after he tried to kill himself by jumping off that castle. Or, you know, threatening to make Yugi push him off, which they edited very differently in the English version versus the Japanese version. But there's some interesting edits in between the American dub and the actual original airing of that series. If you ever have time, check it out. It's very amusing. Japanese version's intense. Children's card games are serious business. In this fic, Seto Kaiba decides that he's going to try and unlock time travel magic using one of his Yu-Gi-Oh cards to be able to travel in time to find a way to defeat his dueling rival. However, while testing his invention, something goes wrong, and he finds himself propelled 30 years into the future. And in this future, people don't play duel monsters anymore. And you can't get the cards. They've all been destroyed. Now Kaiba must discover what exactly happened and find a way to get himself home. This is also a gen fic. It's very much an introspective Kaiba piece and focuses on what's important to Kaiba and what drives him. For those who are fans of the character, it's a fun read. And it also incorporates some of the other side characters, but not to a great extent. It's mainly focused on Kaiba. And of course, his relationship with his brother. Family is important. It is almost as important as the heart of the cards. The Yu-Gi-Oh fandom is a very fascinating place, by the way. There is a lot going on there. So if you've never taken a look, then maybe use this to ease in. There's a whole bunch of shipping, so many AUs, theories, it's a deep dive. So we've had two types of time travel so far. The unexplained, slightly mystical time travel, and also time travel mishap. Time travel gone wrong. So for our next fic, Fic 3, we're going to be diving into a fandom where the series was about time travel, or was it? We're going to take a look at Life on Mars. This was a BBC series. Initially, there was a brief American remake that did not last, and in all honesty, was not terrible, but not as good as the original British version. In this series, you follow Sam Tyler, an uptight cop in the year 2006, until after being hit by a car while on a case, he is sent back in time to 1973. Now he needs to not only solve cases in 1973, but try and figure out what happened to him and get home, and not blend at all. He spends the entire series not blending and acting like he's completely insane. And it's wonderful. The themes of time travel and what exactly happened, and if it is time travel at all, run through this series quite heavily. This series also had a sister series sequel called Ashes to Ashes. That series focused a lot more on explaining what was happening, which ultimately made me like it less, but most people enjoy it more. Mileage, of course, as with everything, varies, so if this sounds interesting to you, then please check out both of these series. Life on Mars is only 2 seasons long. I'm shilling it a little hard because I want some ship requests from it. There was a lot of shipping that went on for Life on Mars. It was a good time. Also, one of the leads actually managed to dethrone Tennant as sexiest actor that year, and this was during the height of Tennant mania, so impressive. This fic is called Everything in Its Right Place by Laws. It's 3 chapters, word count 15,269. It is the pairing of Sam Tyler and Gene Hunt, who is his supervising officer, and the person with whom he has most of the interaction because they have to solve the cases together. And consequently, also the person who sees him having most of his moments as they come to be dubbed. This was the dominant ship of this fandom, although there were people who were also there for the canon ship of Sam, Tyler, and Annie. Pretty much Sam and anybody, and just a lot of Sam Wump. This was a Wump happy fandom. This fic is surprisingly not about that. This is a time travel fic, where just like Sam woke up in the year 1973, one day, all of a sudden, him and DCI Gene Hunt wake up in the year 2006. They're back, and now the shoe's on the other foot. This was a scenario that people used to play with, not necessarily bringing Gene with him, but just the idea of what happens when he goes back. How can he return to 2006 when his life in 1973 seems to have become so much more fulfilling? And would he really want to? So now this plays with the idea of how exactly is Gene gonna cope in 2006, especially as the rules for policing and just general attitudes in society have changed so much. It is a fun read. People are in character, and it very much feels like it could have been a small one-off episode. Some knowledge of the series is required to get the joy of the reversal, but it will still make sense if you haven't seen it. So if this sounds interesting to you, you know the drill, check it out. Continuing the trend of fandoms that we haven't really talked about, we're going to be taking a look at Due South. Don't know why I did that. South. This series, oh, what a hidden gem. This series is about Royal Mounted Police Officer Benton Fraser, who must go down to the States after his father is murdered to try and find out exactly what happened and solve the case. This series is a comedy that plays upon stereotypes, where Fraser is the most Canadian to ever Canada. Just all of the stereotypes about Canadians right there. Oh, and it's wonderful. He can practically talk to animals. Actually, I think he can talk to animals. He's so in tune with his spirit. Like all Canadians, I too can talk to animals. Wish. He is paired with a streetwise Chicago cop, who is also a stereotype. Brash, rude, in your face. They have to band together to solve the crime, and also just end up being partnered and solving lots of cases together. It is a good time, don't think about it too hard. Now, this series enjoys a decent cult fan base and had a decent amount of popularity while it was on. It lasted 4 seasons. It also was party to an interesting cast change, wherein in between seasons 2 and 3, the partner changed, but they were both called Ray. So there was a brief flame war between the two Rays. Who was best Ray? Original, really stereotypical Italian Ray? Or Cylon Ray? Cylon Ray. All the way. Always Cylon Ray. They both have their pros and cons, but people did tend to ship Fraser more with the second Ray. In all fairness, they were a lot more touchiest than the first iteration of the partnership. So, this fic is a pairing between Benton Fraser and Cylon Ray. Second Ray, Ray Kowalski. This fic is called The Heart's Compass by Zabira. It is 1 chapter, word count 7,545. This fic is heavily inspired by the book The Time Traveler's Wife. In it, we have a time-traveling Ray who cannot control where he goes, but because of his travels, he keeps learning more and more about Fraser and wanting to insert himself more and more into his life and help him out. And because of this ends up leading the two together. How do they come together? Does he tell him about his time travel abilities? You'll have to read and find out. It also manages to find a way to work in meeting the protagonist and future love interest as a child and not make it creepy, which is a very hard line to walk. That is difficult because there's just an inherent squick factor for many people when the adult protagonist meets his future love interest as a child. It of course helps that it is firmly established that he met him and befriended him as an adult first. You can do it, and if you want to see it done, check out this fic. Though of course mileage may vary. I know some people believe it just can never be done. Also, check out this series. I'm so lonely. Fic 5. Also, have you noticed that there's been no superhero Recs this week? I'm being good. That means next week will be nothing but superhero Recs. I'll just explode. I've kept it contained too long. We're gonna hop over to yet another fandom that we've mentioned many times in passing, but have yet to fully dive into. There is a lot of fandoms. There is a lot of shipping across a lot of different shows. It's not all stuck specifically in teen shows and really genre-heavy shows. It's everywhere. Ships everywhere. We're gonna be looking at the white collar fandom. That's right, white collar. For those who haven't checked out this show, it is about an attractive white collar con man who ends up being partnered with the agent who initially caught him. He ends up helping the white collar crimes unit in exchange for some time off of his sentence and being able to be out of prison, where he escaped anyway. It is as tropey as you would imagine and had quite the fandom that oftentimes eclipsed the depth of the work that was actually going on the show. It was very pairing heavy and had not only a significant pairing between the two protagonists, but also a very large OT3. This fic has nothing to do with either of those things. It's actually a gen fic. Lots of gen this week. Also, for those of you who have seen the series, I've mentioned this before on stream, but just throwing it out there for your headcanon consideration. Asexual Neil Caffrey. Think about it. This fic is called Einstein's Causality by NYWC Girl. It is 1 chapter, word count 10,577. This is a Neil Wump fic, and this was quite common in the fandom. Neil was just one of those protagonists who seemed like he needed to be wumped. We did a video discussing wump, what it is, and what type of characters tend to be attached to it. So if you're interested in that, then please click the card, or of course the link will be down below. Also in canon, this just happened to Neil a lot. He was often injured. But this one goes a step beyond. This is a temporary death fic. So if you see that tag, you already know that the person is going to be fine, which admittedly does take out some of the suspense. It's one of those cases where it can make you feel better if you're the kind of person who really doesn't enjoy a death fic, but if you're the kind of person who doesn't like any spoilers, then tags can be a blessing and a curse. Sometimes they can really help you from getting into something that you have no interest in reading at all, and other times they can completely ruin a story and take out some of the suspense. Thankfully, because of the time travel factor, that does not happen with this fic, because one is still left to wonder, how is there time travel in this fic? This is not a genre series, there is not time travel in this show, so how? Which very much keeps one invested, because this fic will tell you how. This is one of those ones where they're not going to dive too hard into trying to explain whether it's plausible or not. Time travel is there and it's going to save Neil, and that's what matters. So in this fic, Neil Caffrey is poisoned and killed by a mysterious blackmailer, and it's up to Peter to find out what happened and go back in time, not act suspicious and alert his past self or other people, and save him. It's pretty much what it says on the tin. So if that sounds interesting to you, then you know the drill. Check it out, link down below. This of course leads us to our fan rec. Yes, I have one this week. And again, taking us over to fandoms we haven't had time for yet. Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is just a juggernaut, and it's disingenuous to just say Final Fantasy. For each Final Fantasy is different. If you're talking about Final Fantasy 7 versus 10, or the malign 10-2, then you're talking about very different things. For our purposes, we're talking about 7. Side note, where's my remaster? Fans have actually grown so tired of waiting for a remaster that they've started to make their own. There are rumors that there's one coming soon for an anniversary, but you never know. This fic definitely benefits from background knowledge, just getting that out of the way right off the bat. This fic was wrecked by Amber Harper. It is called The Turks Way by Lunastorm. 4 chapters, word count 21,657. I have a Gen time travel rec. It is Final Fantasy VII and centers around a post-game Vincent Valentine that has traveled back to before Crisis Time and is determined to stop Sephiroth's descent into madness and the death of the planet. He is Bamf in true Turk fashion, manipulating people and events in ways that his hand cannot be detected, sometimes taking a more active role undercover. It is a fascinating spin on fixits, in that the character doing the fixing stands back from major events and never reveals the truth of who they are, their mission, what they have done, or what could/would have happened. The focus is on little actions he takes to better the lives of everyone, not him swooping in to save the day. Plus, it's fun to watch a spy revel in their work for the sake of a job well done. So yes, as mentioned, backstory helps because there is a lot of terminology that's just used in this fic that really helps build the world and makes you feel like you are part of it. But at the same time, if you haven't played the games or aren't familiar with the lore, it's going to make you confused. You're just gonna be like, Shinra, Turks, what mansion? Who is Sephiroth? Although you might be able to answer that one. This fic also plays a lot with that Vincent thirst that was very prevalent back in the day, especially after the release of Final Fantasy Advent Children. There were a lot of thirsty people. In fact, he was described jokingly in the fandom as the most alluring undead man they've ever met. Is he your favorite alluring undead man? There's a lot of competition for that title. Amber did a fantastic job describing this fic, so I don't have much to add to it, except to say that it really builds its atmosphere well and makes you feel like you are part of this universe and makes you compelled to follow this adventure. You really want to see Sephiroth turn out differently. Well, depending on how you feel about Sephiroth. It's an intriguing take on time travel as well because it places one very much in the role of manipulator, actively trying to change time travel from a more outside perspective, affecting events that, while they did affect Vincent, of course, had more of an impact on other people. So that in itself is very interesting. Also, Child Cloud. Who isn't excited for Child Cloud strife? So if you want to see how time travel could potentially turn around Sephiroth's heart, then this is the fic for you. I did get sent a lot of fics. Actually, less of them were time travel than I thought, but shout out to Wayne McLean who sent me some Halo fics. I'm very excited to read through those. There's a Halo novel tie-in universe, by the way, for those who are unaware. Just throwing that out there. So as always, I hope that at least one of these recs was interesting to you. Also, let me know, what is your favorite way to enjoy time travel as a trope? Or is it one that you don't enjoy? It's not for everyone, as some people feel that it's kind of a get out of jail free card or Deus Ex Machina, and it can be a way to make the events in the plot not matter or to avoid any conflict. However, on the flip side, there are those who feel that it's a way to make characters who could never have met meet, to overcome certain taboos or hindrances in certain ships, or to be able to create really complex and intriguing AUs. And some people even manage to avoid the paradox. So of course, it really depends what kind of tropes you enjoy, and what kind of fics you've encountered within the trope, as that can also impact how someone comes to view it. So as always, let me know all your thoughts and feelings and experiences down below, and please keep leaving those recs, and you know the drill, numbered if possible, because I love a good essay comment. Even here. All of the essays. If you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. There are so many more vids coming soon and you're never exactly sure what you're gonna get, except on Friday, which is Fic Rec Friday. Thank you so much as always for taking some time out of your day to spend it discussing Fic Recs with me. I always appreciate it. I will see you all again when I can, and until then, let's get to the outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons, names on the side, for helping to make these videos possible. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so until then, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.